Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And I'm here to tell you a little bit more about our Social Aspects of Marine Protected Areas online seminar. So we are the Center for Protected Area Management. We are hosting the seminar in partnership with the Blue Nature Alliance. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about who we are in just a moment. So I'll show you what we're going to be doing today. So tell you a little bit more about us. Then I'll go through a little bit of an overview of the seminar and then talk a little bit about the logistics, and then we can have a conversation with any questions that you may have. So to start, my name is Audrey Ramsey. I am the training specialist for the Center for Protected Area Management. I'm also the lead facilitator for this program. So if you are participating in this, we will be interacting quite a lot, which I am very excited for. So the Center for Protected Area Management, we are a small, sort of like a nonprofit within the University of Colorado State University. So we are a totally grant-funded nonprofit sort of entity within the Human Dimensions of Natural Resources Department of the university. So we are a small team of 3 people full-time, but we get to collaborate with many, many amazing people from all around the world that really make up the broader network and the beautiful people that we call our team in general. So we have been doing training, capacity building, which we like to call capacity sharing, because we really think that it's important for everybody to be considered both a learner and an instructor or teacher. Us included, we always say that we are also students in the spaces that we create as well. So we don't do things from a very top-down sort of way as much as possible. We really tried to create a collaborative learning environment. So we've been doing programs like this since 1990. We've been doing terrestrial protected area management program specifically for, we're in our 32nd edition this year. So lots of background in capacity building, capacity sharing around terrestrial spaces. Throughout that time, we've had many, many people come through that program in particular that have also been marine protected area managers. So although that one has been based in Colorado for 30 years, it is a more generalized sort of protected area management program where we're talking about all sorts of different things where related to more technical sort of capacity, but also really focused on systems thinking. So how are you thinking about protected areas in not just as one protected area, but as a part of this massive system that's affected by so many different things? Lots of training around public use, interpretation, environmental and cultural interpretation, equity, equality and equity, and then sustainable tourism. We do many different programs. So that is a little bit of the other things that we do. But this particular program we just started last year after a 2-year development process, which I'll talk about a little bit later when I talk about the why. So we are a small entity, but really work to create big impact around the world. We've worked with over 100 countries, primarily in Latin America to start, but have branched out in the past 15 years to do English-based programs that are focused around, like I said, sustainable tourism, women's leadership, things like that. So, and now this program. That's a little bit about us. And then our partners for this program is the Blue Nature Alliance, and they are this amazing alliance that is made up by lots of different people placed throughout the entire world that are all working together on this ambitious global initiative where they're working and doing work to accelerate pace, scale, and effectiveness of ocean conservation. through all these amazing partnerships, and we're very lucky to be one of those. So social aspects, what the seminar is all about is about the human side of marine management. So um, we have followed this definition vaguely, but we like to play around with what people kind of define social aspects as. But essentially, it is the ways that people, communities, societies interact with and are affected by the ecosystems and environmental change. Um, so that is a more general definition of social aspects, but of course, in the seminar, it's all about that in relation to marine management. Why we created this seminar was there was a lot of interest expressed from marine practitioners on this need for capacity development or capacity sharing about the social dimensions of marine management. There's been lots of training and even careers in biological, ecological dimensions in the past, which we recognize as being very, very important, but are also realizing that a huge part of marine management is that human side. How are you interacting with communities to make sure that marine protected areas are really not only just reaching ecological, biological goals, but also supporting those people that rely on them. Um, and that hasn't been something that's been as teased out as far as capacity building or career paths go. So a lot of marine practitioners are kind of left to their own devices to figure that out. And there are a lot of people that are doing amazing things around the world and that have different systems and tools in place that have helped them navigate those social dimensions. So that's the goal of this seminar is to help spread that far and wide. We are probably all aware of this 30 by 30 goals, the goal to protect 30% of land and sea by 2030. Amazing goal. It's a big one. There's definitely been a lot of investment in the expansion of areas to reach that 30%. But we can't just invest in the space of an area and wanting to get more square kilometers, hectares of sea coastal areas under protection. We need people that are actually there, that are uh, capable, have the tools that they need, the support that they need, the networks that they need to be able to actually manage those areas effectively. Otherwise, they're just lines on a map, right? And it's difficult in terrestrial spaces, but marine spaces are have unique challenges as well as far as lines on a map go, and how to get to those areas is often a bit more difficult. So um, finding those examples of how to do this protection, conservation in effective ways is really, really important for actually achieving the goals that we want the 30% of protection to achieve. So this program is really targeted at that aspect of the effective and equitable side of the management of these areas. The program format, this is a 14-week fully online seminar. There are 7 self-paced modules, which I'll show you the topics in a minute. We estimate about 5 hours of content per week. These self-paced modules, although they are asynchronous, we do try and keep the participants up on a similar schedule as far as when the modules are being completed. So within a 2-week time period, participants are expected to complete one module, for example. That is the structure of it. So within those 2 weeks, the asynchronous piece of that participants can do at their own pace. There's videos that have been pre-recorded that are constructed of interviews with amazing practitioners from all over the world. We have 35 marine practitioners that gave their time and knowledge to this program to share this sort of things that they're doing, the methods, the all of their experience, their lived experience, traditional knowledge to really bring this program to life. So it's not all, I would say, academic format. It's not all of that sort of thing. There is, of course, we have our more traditional way of communicating, like definitions and concepts. So we'll define something or talk about a topic, explain it a little bit in maybe a more technical way, but then have practitioners that have done these interviews and case studies to really provide the examples of what people are doing on the ground, which I think is a really amazing piece of this program. So it's kind of a hybrid between asynchronous of that piece of watching the videos and completing the homeworks and tools and assignments that we have throughout the program, while also having this opportunity to connect with your cohort, because that is one of the things that we think is most important, is really creating a network. So it's not quite like other online seminars that might be completely asynchronous, where you're not really interacting with other people that might be taking the program. This is really focused on doing the best that we can in an online format to get people connected from all over the world, which is really, really cool. So we do that by having different connection points. We have assignments that are discussion boards sort of things, for example. But also these live virtual sessions are a really important part of this, that we meet after each module to connect with the cohort, however many people that can join, and discuss what we've just learned about in the previous module. So, and kind of give a little sneak peek to the next one, but also just really having that moment to converse with other people who are doing this program, but also having these challenges. And we really have those sessions be super discussion based. And sometimes we're able to bring in outside facilitators as well that are experts in whatever topic the module is pertaining to. So that is also a really great opportunity for networking for participants. Is there's amazing people that we can get even live that they can ask questions to and interact with, which is really special. So I kind of went into this a little bit already, but some of the more details of how the program is structured out is we have that technical content that's delivered through videos that I explained already about the mix between technical content, also backed up by these real world experiences by people who are working in the field. So we have these case studies that we follow throughout the whole program. There's many that are talked about, maybe not as in detail, but then there's three that we really focus on and follow throughout the whole program, which I think is really special because it represents three very different places throughout the world. We have one case study that's centered around Palau, which really follows the Palauan values of like mixing traditional cultural practices of management with more modern day sort of management. We follow a case study in Belize that has a great tool about collaborative management between different nonprofits. You get to explore the different structures of how they manage their marine areas there with partnerships through government and nonprofits to manage these different areas, and systems thinking sort of examples of not just thinking of one area on its own, but thinking of it as these whole landscapes and across country borders and everything like that, which is really neat. Another one is a case study up from Nunatsiavut, which is an Inuit community up in northeastern Newfoundland and Labrador, which is now known as Canada. But they have a really amazing example of co-management with the Canadian government and the Nunatsiavut government, which is a completely autonomous government, and they manage this whole northern coastal area through this land claims agreement. So they are the official owners of the land, which is really, really amazing. And they do really great work with such a large country that it's an amazing case study. So those are three that we follow in great detail throughout the whole program. So you learn about those in the beginning, and then as we go through the modules and learn about different topics, there's different parts from the interviews that we had from those case studies that can provide more detail into how these people are applying those concepts that we're learning about. Another part that I think is a really important piece of this is, and that adds a lot of value to this program, is the tools that we use throughout the entire program. So it's not that we're just watching videos and having discussions, which is very important and an amazing piece of it as well, but we really want participants to be applying the concepts that they're learning the entire time. As they're learning things, we have different assignments, different tools that get you thinking in that moment about how does this apply to my area? Okay, that's a great concept, but how does it work in my context? So that is a really great way to do that using these tools, and then they're uploaded to the platform. You get opportunity to have feedback from me as a facilitator, but also if we have opportunity to bring in outside knowledge as well, then we also try and do that as much as possible to give you detailed feedback. So I think that's a really great piece of it, because I know that I am guilty of, if I learn something and don't immediately start thinking about it in how it applies to me and trying to use the concepts, it's not always as easy to really implement that into your practices, right? So and we really try to foster this flexible and collaborative learning environment. Like I said, there's asynchronous pieces to it, a lot of the core content, but so the asynchronous piece of it is really nice because people can make their own schedules while trying to keep up and keep along the same pace as, not same pace, but similar pace of other participants, so that we're able to have those really rich conversations during those live sessions is, I think, one of the most amazing parts of this program. So we encourage people to keep up, but also within that time frame, be able to create their own schedule. So we like to encourage that people are able to complete this during work hours, but we also know that that's not always possible. We hope that institutions can support that time, but it depends on each and every person's situation. So maybe it's a couple hours on the weekend, maybe it's in the mornings before the kids wake up, maybe it's during lunch hour, you watch a couple of videos, or maybe you get some dedicated time during your workday to complete this. But it's flexible in that sense of being able to make your own schedule depending on what is available to you. And like I said, we really, really try to foster this environment of everyone being a teacher and a learner. Every single person that comes to the seminar, although it's a capacity development, capacity sharing program, every single person brings incredible value to the table with their lived experiences, their past experiences, their different contexts. And I think that it's incredible to see the diversity of people that come to the program and the similarities and the challenges that they face and the creativity in the ways that they face them. That is something that is constantly surprising me in all of our seminars and really is super inspiring. So that global network that you can build through this program is really incredible. Let's see. So here's some of the topics here are the topics that we go through. Excuse me. in the seminar. We start with the introduction to what social aspects is, dive a little bit more into that definition that I showed at the beginning. Um, and then we go into human rights and social equity. So how is equity brought into different aspects of marine management? We go through values. How do you integrate values from the communities, from the areas, countries, regions of the world that um, rely on these spaces? How do you integrate those values into marine management so that you can get those co-benefits, while also recognizing the costs and gains from each group that is involved. We go through the governance and politics aspects of that, whether it's more locally governed spaces to world pressures. How do you navigate those spaces? Human use, pressure, and behaviors. So going into what are people wanting from these spaces? What are the current challenges, world pressures, local pressures? How do people behave in those environments? And then supporting human well-being and navigating conflict. So the well-being piece, of course, is so important. And there's so much that people rely on from these spaces, whether it be from more cultural sort of well-being aspects or more sustenance relating well-being aspects like food, right? Food access and things like that. So how do you support that? And also how do you navigate conflict? Because we all know that that is going to be something that comes up when we are in the marine management sphere. It's not always going to be everyone agreeing on everything, and that's okay. And that's part of this whole seminar is trying to figure out how to do that. How do we uh, find out what people need, what people value, what people want, and um, how to navigate those spaces while also achieving ecological goals, social goals, all of that. And then finally wrapping up with Module 7, which is positioning your institution for effective and equitable marine management. That focuses on sustainable financing. It also goes through institutional leadership. So how do you maintain staff retention? How do you support your staff? How do you encourage leadership within your institutions and networks? Um, and then at the end of that, end of all of those modules is when we get into our project action plans. So I will, let's see, I'll talk about that at the end actually. I wanted to put a slide in about costs because I know that that's something that is always a question for everyone is, yeah, this is the cost of the program, 1,600 US dollars. That's a lot for especially places that don't have as many resources available to them or um, different areas throughout the world. But it is what we have to charge to be able to run this, but also noting that this isn't a cost that we expect participants to pay out of their own pockets. I think we've had maybe one or two participants in all of our 30 years that have paid out of pocket for a program. We encourage participants to look for funding to cover these costs. Look for scholarships if either from your own institution or outside institutions that might be maybe they're partners, maybe they're outside donors that you haven't worked with before. But we aren't expecting individual participants to pay that out of pocket. And we do realize that that can be a challenge to find that support, that those donors, but it is not impossible. We've had hundreds of people come through our programs that have been able to do that, and we believe in the ability of all of our applicants that they can do it too, even in maybe more difficult times like we are in right now in the conservation sphere, but um, it's still possible. And there are scholarships available from the Blue Nature Alliance. They do prioritize sites that are within their working network, which I'll share some links in the chat at the end, so you can explore that. But they do prioritize those sites that they're currently working with, and then also sites that have helped with the development of this seminar, which is in a list on our website. So I would encourage taking a look at that and indicating that if you are associated with any of those places in your application. So that really helps with our process and being able to follow up with you. But so we recognize that it is a challenge, but we also recognize that it does take resources to build and run a program like this to this caliber. And because it is such an interactive experience, we are really working hard every day to make sure that you are getting an experience that is going to help you create change on the ground, not something that might be like, oh, there's a lot of free programs online, and not trying to bash on any free programs. I think that they are wonderful, but this is just a different experience, right? It's really an investment in your own personal development and the development of your institution, the impact on the ground, all of that. So it's really building those networks. I think that's such an incredible part of this program. And then really spending that time to apply what you're learning and using these tools to create action plans and actually implement the things that you're learning on the ground. And having this long-lasting network as well. This isn't a program that we expect to end and then never hear from or interact with our participants again. We have our WhatsApp that we keep open and active for years and years and years. We have WhatsApps from our previous programs that are 15 years old and still very active, and have people meeting up throughout the world that have had done programs together. That is an invaluable thing, I think. So we consider everyone part of our network, forever part of our little family, shall we say. But we don't ever, we hope that people feel like they can reach out at any time to ask for thoughts on things, feedback. What do you think about this program? Do you have any connections or tools that could be used to get this done? Have you seen any other examples? Like, we really try and facilitate that post-program experience as well as much as we can. So we encourage you to apply. Like I said, it's a unique experience. It is something that I think is really special. I am very proud of the amount of love and effort that has gone into this, and the amazing people that have contributed to this program. I mean, that is something that is so inspiring, is to hear from these 35 marine practitioners that have dedicated their time and expertise, lived experiences to bringing this program to life, and making sure that these things are put to action. The final thing that we do, I was gonna say that I would mention this at the end, is after module 7, we do a project action plan where you're thinking about reflecting on all of the things that you learn, and creating a step-by-step action plan on a project that you want to complete that is related to social aspects. And all of the tools that we do throughout the program build up to that moment. So you have used the tools that we suggest that you consider in your social aspects action plans. And you have a chance to think about, okay, well, that was really useful for me. How would I apply that to this specific project or initiative, or whatever is most useful to you, so that you have a real concrete thing, product at the end that you can then use and make the change that you want to on the ground. So I think that that's a very powerful piece of it. So please do apply. We can't consider any scholarships or anything of that sort if we don't have applications. So it is a very short application process. It's like a 4-page online form that we ask you to submit your CV to as well. But like I said, there's some people that hesitate because maybe they don't have funding up front. But if we don't receive any application, then we can't consider you for funding, right? So we encourage everybody to apply that is even slightly interested, and then continue for funding search after that. But that is kind of the gist of it. But it's a very powerful program, in my opinion. I might be a little bit partial, but it is something that I hope that you can participate in. We want to do everything that we can to support your participation. So please reach out if you don't have questions at this moment and think of something later. Please reach out to us. I'll put our email in the chat also. And let us know if you have any questions, if there's any way that we can support as well. So I'm going to open up for questions right now.